Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I never thought a simple joke could turn into the kind of night I'd remember for the rest of my life. My name is Oliver. I'm 45, and my wife, Lila, has always had a sharp sense of humor. Sometimes too sharp. We've been married for 18 years, and most nights are routine. Dinner, a little wine, maybe a show, then bed. Nothing fancy, nothing explosive. Comfortably mundane, but safe. Or so I thought. That evening started like any other Friday. Lila had come home a little later than usual. Her hair tossed over her shoulder. Eyes sparkling with that mischievous gleam I'd grown accustomed to over the years. She leaned on the kitchen counter, swirling her glass of red wine, and said, smirking, "Maybe tonight I'll find two men half your age to entertain me." I laughed, the kind of polite chuckle that masks the flicker of something darker beneath. I knew she was teasing, trying to see if she could get a reaction, but deep down, a tiny corner of me wanted to rise to the bait. That night, though, I didn't. Not yet. I simply raised an eyebrow. "Is that a challenge or a threat?" She laughed, walking past me toward the living room, and that's when the idea started forming. Not out of anger, but out of a quiet, calculated sense of mischief that had been brewing inside me longer than she realized. Lila always thought she had the upper hand with her playful taunts, her flirtatious digs. Tonight, I decided the game would change. The next hour was routine on the surface. I went about preparing dinner, stirring the sauce, chopping vegetables, setting the table just so. Lila occasionally peeked into the kitchen, offering sarcastic commentary. "You're taking this way too seriously, you know?" I smiled quietly, but she had no idea how serious I was being. Not in the way she imagined. The tension built slowly, like the quiet before a storm. By the time dinner was ready, the aroma had filled the house, candles lit, soft music playing in the background. I called her to the table, and she glanced at me, eyes still mischievous. "Okay, what's this grand plan of yours?" "Another one of your surprise lectures about how I leave my shoes everywhere." I shook my head, keeping my tone neutral, almost casual. "No lecture, just dinner." She rolled her eyes but joined me at the table, setting her wine glass down with a faint clink. Conversation flowed lightly at first, the usual banter about work, the kids, nothing serious. But I noticed her curiosity growing, the way she occasionally leaned forward, trying to read my expression, perhaps expecting a punchline or some dramatic reveal. After dinner, I gestured toward the living room. "Let's continue this in the lounge," I said, keeping it calm, measured. She followed, still smiling, still unaware. And then I reached behind the couch, pulling out two small envelopes. My heart thumped, not from fear, but from anticipation. Lila's eyebrows arched the moment she saw them. "What are those?" she asked, her voice light but with a flicker of intrigue. I handed one to her, keeping my face neutral. "Open it." She tore it open, scanning the paper inside. Her eyes widened, the playful smirk faltering slightly. I handed her the second envelope. She opened it slowly, almost reluctantly, and that's when I saw the shift, the surprise, the realization that I had actually thought a few steps ahead. It wasn't just a prank. Not in the sense she had expected. It was a gentle, clever twist, something that respected the playful spirit she had started with but turned the tables in a way only a person who truly knew her could. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't announce my intentions. I let the silence hang for a moment, letting the weight of what she saw settle. Her laughter came, but it was mixed now with disbelief. A soft gasp, a pause, then the giggle that almost sounded like admiration. She looked at me, truly looked at me, and said, You actually planned this?" I nodded, calm, composed. "I thought it might be fun to remind you that I can play along too." The tension broke, but the spark didn't fade. There was a new energy in the room, an unspoken acknowledgement of the clever little battle we'd just engaged in. For 18 years, we had known each other's patterns, jokes, and quirks, but tonight, the game shifted. I realized then that the thrill wasn't just in the joke or the surprise. It was in the reconnection, the subtle reminder that marriage, even after nearly 2 decades, could still surprise both of us. Her eyes, wide with curiosity, followed my every move. I could see the gears turning. Lila realized that I hadn't just let her joke slide. I had elevated it, transformed it into something playful but impossible to ignore. I handed her a small card, neatly folded, with a single sentence written in my precise handwriting. I hope tonight you remember who really knows how to surprise you. Her breath caught. The smirk she had worn moments ago faltered, replaced by a mixture of awe and disbelief. She tried to laugh, but it was soft, shaky, almost as if she had been caught off guard in the most delightful way. "Oliver, you actually planned all this?" she whispered. I shrugged, pretending nonchalance, though inside I felt a thrill that had nothing to do with mischief and everything to do with the quiet satisfaction of having reclaimed a moment of playful control. "I thought it might be nice to remind you we can still have fun together." That's when the real magic happened. Lila's laugh returned, this time genuine and free, lighting up the room in a way that felt new, as if she were seeing me for the first time in years. But there was more than laughter. It was respect, acknowledgement, the subtle realization that I hadn't lost my edge, that I wasn't just the man she had grown comfortable with over time. I was still someone capable of wit, strategy, and, most importantly, understanding her better than anyone else. We spent the next hour teasing, laughing, reminiscing. Each joke she made, I countered thoughtfully. Each playful jab, I returned with precision. The banter was effortless, electric. The conversation flowed naturally, a back and forth of intellect and humor. And in those moments, I felt a spark of connection that had been dimmed by routine and complacency for far too long. Then came the pivotal moment. I pulled out the last envelope from the stack I had hidden under the couch, handing it to her without comment. She hesitated, suspicion etched on her face. Slowly, carefully, she unfolded it. Inside was a ticket, 2 front-row passes for a comedy show she had mentioned months ago but had never gotten around to booking. Lila's eyes glimmered. "You remembered?" she said softly, almost amazed. "I did," I replied simply, keeping my tone casual, letting the gesture speak louder than words. "I wanted tonight to be memorable, not just for the joke, but for us. To remind you, us, that we're still capable of surprising each other." Her laughter returned, richer this time, mingled with tears she tried to hide. She looked at me differently now, like she had rediscovered a part of me she had forgotten existed. And in that instant, I realized that marriage isn't about grand gestures every day, nor about keeping score. It's about understanding, subtle cleverness, and the ability to make each other feel seen, appreciated, and alive. We spent the rest of the night sitting together on the couch, wine glasses in hand, sharing memories, plans, and quiet jokes that only we understood. I could feel her warmth, her genuine presence, a stark contrast to the teasing tension from earlier. It wasn't about proving a point anymore. It was about connection, recognition, and the tiny victories that strengthen a relationship over time. By the time we finally moved to bed, there was a new rhythm between us, a silent acknowledgement that the spark hadn't died. It had been buried under years of routine, but tonight, through a simple joke and a carefully crafted response, we had uncovered it again. I watched her sleep for a moment, thinking how strange it was that a single playful challenge could bring so much clarity. I didn't feel triumphant in a boastful way. I felt grounded, confident, and, strangely enough, youthful. The evening had reminded me that marriage doesn't have to be predictable, and that love, even after decades, could still surprise you, if only you paid attention, played your hand wisely, and never underestimated the power of a well-planned response. When morning came, Lila woke first. She smiled at me, a soft, quiet smile that carried gratitude, amusement, and a touch of admiration. "You really got me last night," she said, voice still heavy with sleep. I chuckled, stretching, feeling the simple joy of shared mischief. "You deserved it," I replied. "I think we both did." And in that smile, in the quiet, shared understanding, I realized something important. The strongest relationships aren't built on grand gestures alone. They're built on knowing each other, anticipating each other's moves, and sometimes, just sometimes, letting a little playful surprise remind both of you why you started this journey together in the first place. That night, a joke had become more than a joke. It became a memory, a lesson, and a quiet victory. And as Lila and I sat together, sipping coffee and exchanging wry glances, I knew that for the first time in a long time, we were back on the same team, laughing, teasing, and, most importantly, seeing each other clearly again.